do you black gay men still go to homophobic churches? So earlier today, I had a chance to attend a workshop that, discussed HIV in the black gay community. At this workshop was brilliant. I had a good time. It was just very informative and just very positive. I felt the energy, I felt everything. But I began, and this is not the first workshop, and it's probably won't be the last, but I noticed that black gay men, which I was surrounded, made up like 80-90% of the group, are very religious. They talk about, oh yes, they, kind of, thank you, hallelujah. They were I got that deep Southern church feeling from them. And I just didn't understand. And as they talked and they shared their stories of how they dealt with being ostracized and stuff by the church, some of them have dealt with issues of going to the church and being rejected and not being able to talk to their pastors and ministers and preachers about things going on with them being a black gay man. And they just kind of got, shunned and people did not know how to interact with them. Kind of told them to pray about it, let's get you some help and all that type of stuff. And I hear many of these stories, but I still find it very fascinating. A lot of black gay men are still heavily involved in the church. Do not get offended by this. I'm just asking questions because I'm seeking knowledge. I want to hear different perspectives of what is actually going on. Me, I will talk about myself first. Church is something that I've not been interested in the last couple of years, probably 3 or 4 years, probably for a minute, but I just finally accepted that, I have too many questions about religion. And, at this point, I feel more comfortable talking about it. And it was a journey. It was a journey being able to talk openly about how I feel about church. I wrote a blog post about it, and you can check it out on kingareese.com. It's just when people ask me about religion, I'm not sure how to respond because I don't want to offend anybody. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm, worship the devil and all this dumb shit. I just have a bunch of questions, so I'm not sure what I fit into and what works for me. So I noticed that a lot of, queer men and women, get shunned by the church. There's also another blog post on kingareese.com where this woman had went to the church with her and her wife, and the church kind of just made them feel like shit. And they preached about homosexuality, made her feel really bad, so she penned a letter to the pastor. She had penned a letter to the pastor. The pastor was preaching a sermon about how the gay community is tearing down the black community. So the couple, the wife, wrote a letter, after being offended by the comments. She penned a letter to the pastor saying, no, these are the problems in the black community. You have kids that are in 10th grade that can't read, have this and that going on. She named out several issues. She's still religious. She still has her faith that's still strong. It's not shook. It's not anything. I've heard so many stories of people going to the church, sitting, and I call them silent sisters in the pews, they call them church queens and all that type of stuff. But I just be fascinated how certain people, queer black men, gay black men, sit in a church and let a pastor, minister, or anybody degrade them sitting down and don't say anything. You have a pastor telling you that I'm not doing any marriage proposals, I'm not doing any weddings, and he can do whatever he wants. It's his church. I'm not going to tell him what actually teachers of Christ, because clearly some of them do not know that. But how someone just says some things to you and you sit there and you take it and you don't say anything. I just don't understand it. It'd be kind of interesting to me, and I just feel like the church has changed. And when I asked that question on my live feed the other day, people responded well, saying that some churches are like that and it's an issue, but it's a lot of churches, and I'm not trying to generalize, but I'm noticing that there is a problem when it comes to the black community. When we talk about HIV, AIDS, and we talk about all the stuff that's going on, the stuff that needs to be fixed, understanding credit, understanding wealth, money management, paying bills on time, all this type of stuff. And it just seems like the church is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And it's kind of, I feel like sometimes the church is a pep rally. I feel like it's a pep rally on that Sunday to go on with our miserable lives and to make it, like, okay. And I'm not saying all churches, I know some of y'all gonna hit, all churches ain't like that, and Justin come to my church, that's fine. That's fine, but I'm just noticing that a lot of churches are doing a disservice with the black community. And I'm just not understanding how some people, especially my gay brothers and sisters, sit down and be ostracized and villainized in these settings, in these pews, and so silent when these pastors are preaching what he think is the word of Christ, and it's not. It's not the teaching. I don't understand how pastors and preachers feel like they're just supposed to preach to the perfect and teach them. That's not how it works. As I can remember correctly, Jesus went to people that needed to hear the word. He taught people that, he spoke to a prostitute. A lot of stuff like, I just don't understand, to the sick and the needy. I don't understand how you expect people to be perfect coming to you directly. And that's the same thing when it comes to this HIV work that we're trying to do in the gay community. We have a lot of these summits and a lot of these events, and it seems like that we're preaching to the people who already knowledge about the subject, but we're not talking to the people who directly need to hear it. Some of us need to hold these people in these positions accountable. We need to make them talk about certain issues. We need to make them, you know, like, hey, like, I know that you're doing this, but we need to be focused on this, that. If you can't have a conversation, a dialogue with someone like that, if you can't question them or have a conversation side by side, not out loud now, no, not out loud. But if you can't do that, something is wrong. If you can't criticize, respectfully criticize someone like that, something is wrong. If you can't question, something is wrong. And when I asked why, and I know I'm getting off subject, and when I asked why black gay men still are heavily involved in the church, considering how the church has did them, when I asked this question on my Facebook, why are black gay men still heavily involved in the church and their faith is so strong, considering all the things that have been taught, like burning in hell, you're not going to be this, you can't get married, you can't do this, and you're going to die of HIV and AIDS and all this type of stuff. Why do some of us still go? And some of these churches are not accepting of us. Why do we still go? Someone told me cognitive dissonance, and I had to look up the word. I had to look up the definition because I've never heard it before. And basically cognitive dissonance means that something is so strong in someone's core that they cannot question it and they don't want to hear the truth even when it's right in front of them. But I don't want to be disrespectful for anybody that's Christian or anything, but I did feel like I want to talk about that because once I talked about it on Facebook, I noticed that a lot of gay men commented. They were giving me stories and scenarios they've been in where, you know, the church has done them wrong. They just kind of sat through there. You have a lot of black gay men, when it comes to music, the stuff that doing all of it, choir directors, on the organ, all that type of stuff, like doing all this type of stuff, and I just can't understand how do we sit up here and let someone degrade us. And not saying that all churches, I have to keep saying that shit. I have to keep saying it because I feel like if I don't say it, somebody gonna hit me with that all lives matter bullshit. Basically saying, well, you know, all white people ain't like that. You be concerned about all lives. Girl, I'm talking about this. I understand what you're saying, but I'm talking about this specific situation. If them bullets fly and they don't agree with you, you ain't got to sit up here and take it. But if they hit your ass, let them touch and agree with your spirit. Because it is what it is. I really don't have an answer why the LGBT community, people in the LGBT community are still heavily involved in their faith, church. And I feel like, you know, our churches, you do have several churches in Atlanta very accepting of LGBT men and women. And, you know, it's the churches that are not, and people are still sitting there and being the silent sis of the pew that I have a question about. So I haven't been to a church in a minute. It's been a while since I've been in a church. Probably last time I probably been in the church was a funeral or something, but I just don't feel it anymore. And I'll be honest, I wasn't going to say this at all, but I'm so disconnected from the church, from black churches, that even when we do that hallelujah, that thank you, like even when we play about that and shout, it just turns me all the way off. I have too many questions, I just don't understand it. So please forgive me for seeking knowledge. I know a lot of people are going to sit up here and say, well, Justin, you need to get closer to God. It's not going to work on me. That's not going to work on me. You need to be in church. That's not going to work on me. If they're done and tried, it does not work. Honestly, truly, she's not working. She's just not working for me. So I'm seeking knowledge in a different way. And I don't want somebody to invite me to church because that ain't how it is, but I want to have these conversations, and when these churches start having these conversations and stuff, I feel more interested into, you know, going to the community and going to these churches and stuff and seeing how it works, because I want the church to help us. I want it to truly help us. Some of the churches that are in the South, some of the churches that are going on in 2016 are still preaching to us like we are slaves. And when I say that, it's that, oh, we're gonna be alright, that type of shit. Instead of talking about what we're gonna do to fix it and fix it. We already know the problems. Let's fix it. So that's the question I have. I want people in the comment section to tell me how it is, what you think of it in a respectful way. And let's understand and respect each other's religion, backgrounds, and all that type of stuff. So let's do that in a respectful way. And tell me what y'all think. And I will talk to y'all later.